सर्वेषां स्वागतम् गीता संस्कृत प्रथमस्तरवर्गे। इदानीं वयं क्रियापदानां पाठं पठामः। लट् लकारे वर्तमानकाले क्रियापदानि, सामान्य क्रियापदानि, विशेष क्रियापदानि वयं दृष्टवन्तः। वाक्यानि लिखितवन्तः, वाक्यानि उक्तवन्तः, वाक्यानि लट् लकारे। वयं जानीमः क्रियापदानि कथं भवन्ति। संस्कृतभाषायां सर्वं पदं मूलेन सह प्रत्ययस्य योजनेन, मूलं भवति प्रत्ययः भवति, मूलेन सह प्रत्ययस्य योजनेन सर्वाणि पदानि सिद्ध्यन्ति भवन्ति। संस्कृतभाषायां पदं द्विविधं, सुबन्तं तिङन्तं। तिङन्तम् इत्युक्तौ क्रियापदं। सुबन्तस्य मूलं प्रातिपदिकं, विभक्तिप्रत्ययः राम इति शब्दः, अकारान्त पुल्लिङ्ग रामशब्दः। प्रथमा विभक्ति एकवचनप्रत्ययं योजयामश्चेत् रामः। प्रथमा विभक्ति द्विवचनप्रत्ययं योजयामश्चेत् रामौ। प्रथमा विभक्ति बहुवचनप्रत्ययं योजयामश्चेत् रामाः, रामः, रामौ, रामाः। षष्ठी एकवचनप्रत्ययं योजयामश्चेत् रामस्य। द्विवचनप्रत्ययं योजयामश्चेत् षष्ठी विभक्त्या रामयोः। षष्ठी बहुवचनं रामाणाम्। एवं सुबन्तानां रूपाणि भवन्ति। मूलस्य नाम प्रातिपदिकं, राम इति प्रातिपदिकम्। तेन सह विभक्तिप्रत्ययं योजयामश्चेत् सप्तसु विभक्तिषु त्रिषु वचनेषु संहत्य 21, 21, 7 times 3, 21 भिन्नानि विभक्त्यन्तरूपाणि भवन्ति। अद्यापि अभ्यासं कृतवन्तः किल, रामशब्दस्य रूपाणि रामः, राम, रामाः, हरिशब्दस्य रूपाणि। एवमेव क्रियापदानि अपि। क्रियापदानि कथं सिद्ध्यन्ति, मूलं किं तत्र क्रियापदानां मूलं धातुः। धातुः मूलं। धातुना सह तिङ् प्रत्ययं योजयामश्चेत् क्रियापदं सिद्ध्यति। उदाहरणं पठ धातुः, पठ इति धातुः। तेन सह प्रथमपुरुष एकवचन तिङ् प्रत्ययं लट् लकारे लट् योजयामश्चेत् पठति। प्रथमपुरुषे द्विवचने पठतः, प्रथमपुरुषे बहुवचने पठन्ति, मध्यमपुरुषे पठसि, पठतः, पठता, उत्तमपुरुषे एकवचने पठामि, द्विवचने पठावः, बहुवचने पठामः। एवं त्रिषु पुरुषेषु त्रिषु वचनेषु संहत्य 9 रूपाणि लट् लकारे। लट् लकारे इत्युक्तौ वर्तमानकालार्थे रूपाणि। गतवर्गेषु वयं तदभ्यासं कृतवन्तः किल। बहूनि वाक्यानि उक्तवन्तः। बालकः पठति, Balakau patataha. Balakaha patanti. Tvam patasi. Yuvam patatha. Yuyam patatha. Aham patami. Avam patavaha. Vayam patamaha. Evam vayam bahuni क्रियापदानि साधारण क्रियापदानि विशेष क्रियापदानि अपि उदाहरणं जानाति जानीतः जानन्ति जानासि जानीथः जानीथ जानामि जानीवः जानीमः शृणोति शृणुतः शृण्वन्ति शृणोषि शृणुतः शृणुथ शृणोमि शृणुवः शृणुमः एवं बहूनि क्रियापदानि दृष्टवन्तः अभ्यासं कृतवन्तः वाक्यानि निर्मितवन्तः किल गतेषु वर्गेषु that was the last thing we learned all that. Now we are getting into a related next topic. So for kriya padani, the base is dhatuhu. Dhatuhu. What is dhatu? Base for kriya padani. Who made that? How do we get that? Panini, the Vaiyakarana, the Prasiddha Vaiyakarana, he made a list of dhatus called dhatu patha. He did not create the dhatu patha. He listed the dhatu. Dhatus and Sanskrit language was born, it flowered, and fully developed into a mature, very advanced language when nobody knows. Like I may have said many times before, the oldest scripture known to a human being is Vedas. Rigveda is the oldest scripture known to human beings. Yeah, non-Indians would like to dispute that, but it is generally agreed that that is one of the old Rigveda. The language used in Rigveda is such a highly developed, mature, fully developed language. If Rigveda is the oldest meaning nobody knows, 5,000, some people say 3,000, 4,000, 5,000, 10,000, nobody knows. But one thing we know for almost sure is that it is the oldest. By that time, language already has developed. The language used in Rigveda is a very highly developed language. So, Panini is, just first, AD, or, maybe 1 century before Christ. So, it's a more recent grammarian. Before Panini also, there are so many grammarians. What Panini has done, he studied the language, absorbed the language, and he is one of the greatest intellectuals ever lived, because he found the thread of grammar around which the Sanskrit language was structured and woven. Very difficult to do that. So then he started, he developed the Astadhyayi, the Vyakarana structure, which explains the language. So what he also did is listed all the dhatus. Dhatus are verbal roots, the roots for all verbs. He simply listed them. He did not create them. The language was created and developed long before. So it is called dhatu patha, paniniya dhatu patha. That is very exhaustive. That covers practically all the dhatus we ever need. But Sanskrit is a highly scalable more modern than most modern languages. Why? Because dhatus can be built. New dhatu, using a core dhatu, you build a new dhatu. And you can build on that another dhatu, you can build a subantam from that. Again, from that subantam, you can create a dhatu. It is infinitely scalable, right? And highly performing in all directions. So that is the most suitable for AI and all the machine learning and all that. But unfortunately, the whole world is crazy of English. So much investment is made. So we are making even more investment to somehow make English work with AI. That's why so much investment going on. But anyway, there's a different subject. So the Dhatu Patha is the list of all dhatus. Dhatus is called Aupadeshika Dhatavaha, the basic dhatus. At this stage, we will not talk about the derived dhatus. We will restrict to only the main dhatus listed in the Pandiya Dhatu Patha. That is where all the dhatus are listed. In that list, what else is listed? Dhatu. And then, what is the simple meaning of the dhatu? And the characteristics of dhatu. One of the important characteristics of dhatus is called whether it is Parasmayapadi, Atmanepadi, Athava Ubhayapadi. Parasmayapadi, Ikaranta. It sounds like Ikaranta. Is it a Nadi like Ikaranta Strilinga Shabda? No. It is a special Pullinga Shabda with in at the end, like Yogin is the Pratipadikam. The Prathama Vibhakti Rupam is Yogi. Right? We are very familiar with Yogi. So from the Mantri, you may think, oh, it is Yogi. Sounds like Devi. Is it Ikaranta? No. Yogi is Nakaranta Pullinga Shabdaha. Yogi, Yoginau, Yoginaha. Similarly, Parasmay Padi is also Nakaranta Pullinga Shabdaha. Parasmay Padin. Prathama Vibhakti Ekavachanam Rupam Parasmay Padi. So Parasmay Padi is one type of dhatu. Some dhatus are Parasmay Padi Ekavachanam, Parasmay Padinaha Bahuvachanam. Yogi Yoginaha, Mantri Mantrinaha, Vidyarthi Vidyarthinaha, Parasmay Padi Parasmay Padinaha. Kechana Dhatavaha Parasmay Padinaha. Some dhatus are categorized as Parasmay Padi. Which are those dhatus which are Parasmay Padi? All the dhatus, all the verbs you learned so far, they are all Parasmay Padi. Patadhatu, patati, patataha, patanti, patha. Right? It's all Parasmay Padi. Evameva gacchati, gacchataha, gachanti. Likhati, likhataha, likhanti. Hasati, hasataha, hasanti. All this are Parasmay Padi. The second category of dhatus are Atmanepadi Dhatava, Padinaha Dhatava. Which are they? You have not learned them yet. That is our next lesson. You are learning them today. Udaharanam, Vanda Dhatuhu. Just like Patha Dhatuhu, Vanda Dhatuhu. To that, but Vanda Dhatu is defined in the Dhatu Patha as Atmanepadi. For Atmanepadinaha Dhatavaha Santi Chet Tesham Kriyapadani Katham Bhavanti Tatra Bhinna Atmanepadi Pratyayaha Bhavati. Ataha Rupani Katham Bhavanti Vanda Dhatoho Vandati Vandataha Vandanti iti na bhavanti. Vandate, Vandate, Vandete, Vandante. Vandase, Vandethe, Vandadve. Vande, Vandavahe, Vandamahe. Vande. You're familiar with Vande, right? Vande. Vande, Aham Vande. Vande is Uttama Purusha Ekavachana. It is not Vandami. Aham Namami. Aham Patami. But Vanda Dhatu, you have to say Vande. Why? Because Vanda Dhatu is Atmanepadi. For Atmanepadi Dhatus, Latlakare Rupani Bhinnani Bhavanti. Udaharana Vanda Dhatoh Rupani Vandate, Vandete, Vandante, Vandase, Vandethe, Vandadve. Vande, Vandavahe, Vandamahe. Iti Rupani. And once again, sentence formation is similar. Just like Patati, Patataha, Patanti, Balakaha, Patati, Balakaha, Patanti. Bhaktaha, Vandate, Bhaktaha, Vandante. Namati, Namataha, Namanti, Namasi, Namatha, Namatha, Namami, Namavaha, Namamaha. Aham Namami, Aham Namami. Namadhatu, Kim Rupam? Parasmepadi Rupam. Ata Aham Namami. Vandadhatuhu Atmanepadi. Ataha Rupani. Uttama Purushe Vande, Vandavahe, Vandamahe. Aham Vande. Aham Vande. Meaning is same. Vanda and Nama. Aham Namami is same meaning. I salute or my namaskaras. Aham Namami. Aham Vande. Vande and Namami, same meaning. But the form is different. Why? Because Namami, the root, verbal root, is the Namadhatu, Parasmayapadi. So the forms will be like that. Namami, Namavaha, Namamaha. Vanda Dhatu, on the other hand, is Atmanepadi Dhatu. Because it is Atmanepadi Dhatu, it gets a different family of pratyayas. So the forms are different. How are they? What are those forms? Vandate. Lat. All these forms, remember. Punaha lat lakare. Lat. Meaning Vartamana kale rupani. So far we have learned only Vartamana kala rupani. We'll continue learning Vartamana kala rupani. But now this time Atmanepadinaha dhatavaha. So Vandate, Vandete, Vandante. Balakaha Vandate. Balakau Vandete. Balakaha Vandante. Just the form is different, that's all. Now there is a third category. There are some dhatus which have both the forms, right? Parasmayapadi forms also, and then Atmanepadi forms also. Udaharanam, Pach dhatu, Pachati. You know Pach dhatu, right? Pachati means to cook. Pachati, Pachataha, Pachanti. Pachasi, Pachatha, Pachatha. Pachami, Pachavaha, Pachamaha. That Pachdhatu also has Atmanepadi Rupani. Pachate, Pachete, Pachante. Vandate, Vandete, Vandante. Like that. Krudhatu, Dukrun Karane. Krudhatu, Karoti. Kurutaha, Kurvanti. Right? Kurute, Kurvate, Kurvate. Krudhatu also has Atmanepadi form also. Parasmayapadi and Atmanepadi. The famous Bhagavad Gita first shloka. Dharma kshetre kurukshetre samaveta yuyutsavaha mamaka pandava chaiva kim akurvata sanjaya. There kim akurvata sanjaya. That akurvata is a lang lakara, past tense, bhutakala form of Atmanepadi form of Krudhatu. Atmanepadi form is used. In many of the Shastras and scriptures, आत्मनेपदी धातु आत्मनेपदी क्रियापदानां प्रयोगः दृश्यते बहुत्र. So Atmanepadi forms are used abundantly in our Sanskrit scriptures. They prefer Atmanepadi. Bhavatu. So we have three categories of dhatus. Parasmaipadinaha dhatavaha. Udaharanam patadhatuhu, gam dhatuhu, gacchati, likhadhatuhu, likhati, likhataha, likhanti. There are some dhatus which are Atmanepadinaha. Like Vanda dhatu, Vandate, Vandete, Vandante. Labha dhatuhu, Labhate, Labhete, Labhante. Vanda dhatu has the same meaning as Nama dhatu. Labha dhatu has similar meaning as Prapnoti. Prapnoti, Prapnutaha, Prapnuvanti. Labhate, Labhete, Labhante. Bhasha dhatu. Vadati. Vadati means to speak, right? That Vada dhatu Parasmaipadi. Vadati, Vadataha, Vadanti. Vadasi, Vadataha, Vadataha. Vadami, Vadavaha, Vadamaha. Bhasha dhatu Atmanepadi. Bhashate, Bhashete, Bhashante. Like that. Bhasha dhatu is Atmanepadi, but the meaning of Vadati, Bhashate is the same. Right? Okay. If meaning is the same, why do we have two dhatus? Right? Because the language in our time has developed and it has you have more options now to use Parasmaipadi, Atmanepadi. Bhavatu. So that's all. Too much? No, it's not too much. It is something, nothing. Practically, what we have learned is there are three kinds of dhatus. Parasmaipadi are simple. What we learned already, patati, patataha, patanti, all those one. Gachati, gachata, gachanti, hasati, hasataha, likhati, likhataha, likhanti, right? We are now very thorough with all those things. Now, Atmanepadinaha dhatavaha is our next lesson. Right? But don't worry. Now we are going to see similar slides. Pattern is exactly the same sentence formation. Just like you form the sentences, balakaha pathati, balakau pathataha, balakaha pathanti. Similarly, balakaha vandate, the boy salutes. Balakau vandete, balakaha vandante. Exactly same pattern. It's just that, you have to, this is a very important part of the language. Atmanepadinaha dhatavaha. Just want to clarify, it is clear, but still some students, because the beginner level get confused. So I'm clarifying once again. Any given dhatu can be one of these three categories. Parasmaipadi, Atmanepadi, or Bhubhayapadi. There is no fourth category. So if it is a Parasmaipadi dhatu, udaharanam pat dhatu, then the only forms pat dhatu has pathati, pathataha, pathanti. It cannot have pathate. So if somebody says, oh, I'll find Atmanepadi rupam for pat dhatu, I will write palakaha pathate. It is ashuddham, wrong. Why? Because patadhatu is Parasmaipadi. The only forms it can acquire are pathati, pathataha, pathanti. Patadhatu can never have the form patate. Similarly, Vanda dhatu is an Atmanepadi dhatu. So the only forms Vanda dhatu can have in Latlakara, Vartamanakala, are Vandate, Vandete, Vandante. We can never have Vandati. It will be wrong. Balakaha Vandati. Wrong. Right? If Balaka says, no, God will be happy because I'm Namaskara, Vandati. No, God will be unhappy because you speak wrong Sanskritam. Right? So you have to speak right Sanskritam to make God happy. Deva Bhasha, Samskrita Bhasha. So you cannot say, Aham Devam Vandami. No. Even if you do that like that, then God will not be happy. You have to say, Aham Devam Vande. Atmanepadi only will be accepted by God. Because Atma, Vanda Dhatu is Atmanepadi Dhatu. Or similarly, Nama Dhatu. Nama Dhatu is Parasmepadi Dhatu. You have to say Aham Namami. You cannot say Aham Name. Stylish. No. That Namaskara will not reach God. It will be broken in between. Why? Ashuddham Samskrutam. Right? But for Ubhayapadi, if it is a dhatu, only certain dhatus are Ubhayapadinaha. Like the examples given, Pach dhatuhu, Kru dhatuhu, Jna dhatuhu, Janati, Janite, Kurute, Atmanepadi, Karoti, Parasmaipadi. Some dhatus which are clearly defined, classified as Ubhayapadinaha, only they are permitted to have both Parasmaipadi form and Atmanepadi form. Then how do I know which dhatu is Parasmaipadi, which dhatu is Atmanepadi, which dhatu is Ubhayapadi? By looking at the dhatu patha, the list of dhatu. So the Dhatu Rupa Manjari books what you have, go and look at them. In Dhatu Rupa Manjari, for every Gana, they will list first Parasmaipadi Padinaha, all the dhatus in that Gana, Parasmaipadi dhatus. Second list will be Atmanepadi dhatavaha. Third list will be Ubhayapadinaha dhatavaha. So the dhatus are categorized into 10 groups, 10 ganas. Don't worry about what are those, that's advanced grammar. But just know that dhatus are grouped into 10 ganas. In Dhatu Rupa Manjari also, they are listed accordingly. First Gana, Pradhama Ganaha, Dvadi Ganaha. So if you look at the Dvadi Gana, which is the biggest Gana in the book, Dhatu Rupa Manjari, first it will be listed as Parasmay Padinaha. All the Parasmay Padi popular Pradhama Gana Dhatavaha. Their name, Dhatu, the meaning of the Dhatu, and Latlakara Ekavachanam Rupa. Pradhama Purusha Ekavachanam. Then Atmanepadinaha, all the forms. Then Ubhayapadinaha. Right? Any dhatu will be listed in one of those three categories. Not in the same dhatu cannot be Parasmaipadi also and Atmanepadi also. Ubhayapadi, if it is a Ubhayapadi, then it will be categorized as Ubhayapadi. It will not be categorized as, if you categorize something as Parasmaipadi, that means it is exclusively Parasmaipadi. It doesn't have Atmanepadi form, is the meaning of categorizing a dhatu as Parasmaipadi. If a dhatu is categorized as Atmanepadi, like Vanda dhatu, then it can only have Vandate, te, Atmanepadi forms. If a dhatu is categorized as Ubhayapadi, only those dhatus will have both Parasmaipadi forms and Atmanepadi forms. Okay? I know this was already explained in my introduction. Now Surya Mahodaya also explained through Avadheyam, but I'm repeating for the third time because with my experience in teaching last 12-15 years, this is where most students get distracted. They think, oh, Pathati, if I make Pathate is Atmanepadi. No. That Atmanepadi Lakshanam, whether Dhatu is Parasmaipadi, Atmanepadi, or Ubhayapadi, that characteristic, Lakshanam, is inherent, integral of a Dhatu. That is defined in the Dhatu Patha. And all these books, Dhatu Rupa Manjari, they are all according to Dhatu Patha. So there's nothing to think too much or understand. Simple. Is it a Parasmaipadi Dhatu? Is it Atmanepadi? Is it Ubhayapadi? How do I know? Reference is there. And I cannot be referring to book. No, you don't need to. As you learn more and more, by today, you just learned this. In one day lecture, you already know so many verbs are Parasmaipadi. Right? In one day class, you have learned that much. As you learn more and more over a period of time, you will learn a lot more. Okay? Just have the basics clear. Ask. Go ahead.
Can I ask you a question?
Oh, yes.
Um,
You want to make me happy.
okay. Um, the way to differentiate between the Parasmaipati and Atmanepati, for example, Pachati, Pachate, right? Pachati, so it is a verb cook, right? Suppose if one cooks for someone else, it is Pachati. Atmanepati, if one cooks for himself, it is Pachate. Can we understand like that?
Good question. So the question is, if it is a Ubhayapadi, like Pachadhatu, Pachati, Pachate, right? If the husband is cooking, it is, what will you use? Pachate or Pachati?
Pachati.
Pachati. So husband cooks for others. Very generous.
Oh,
If
okay.
if or if a wife cooks, it is
Wife cooks,
for
that's
husband.
really Pachati.
So yes, so technically, I deliberately did not talk about that. I didn't want to give you too much information. Yeah, yes. Then how it started? It started like that. Atmanepadi, swasmai. For one's own consumption, when you do things, then it is supposed to be Atmanepadi. When for the consumption of others, it is Parasmaipadi. That is the theoretical understanding. But if you look at the language, the scriptures, that was not followed. So it for you don't understand that way. You understand it as a pure technical thing. Because if you understand that way, then many cases you cannot explain. That is the explanation grammarians give. If somebody says why, there must be some reason why it is called Parasmaipadi, right? Parasmai, for the benefit of others. Atmane, for one's own benefit, meaning one's own consumption. For the consumption of others, for the one's own consumption. But that logic doesn't stand for most verbs and most prayogas we see in scriptures or other places. So that is why it is good to know that the background, but don't keep that in the mind. That's not how the language works. So we see in the language, for example, Vandate is Atmanepadi, right? Atmanepadi dhatu, right? Namati is Parasmaipadi, right? So when you do Namaskara and if you use Sanskritam word Aham Namami, oh, then Parasmai, Aham Namami, it's not for me, it is for the welfare of the society. So then I will use Aham Namami. If it is for my own benefit, I will go and say Aham Vande. No, it is not like that. So even though what Mahodaya said, Chakrapani Mahodaya said, you will find that kind of explanation in the literature, but that explanation does not cover a lot of verbs and a big usage which we see in the literature. So I suggest hear that and forget it. Hear that, oh, Atmanapadi, why that word has come? It is for Swasya Prayojanaya. Why Parasmaipadi word has come? It is for the consumption of others. So does it mean all Atmanepadi verbs are mean that the result of the action is for others? No. Parasmaipadi is for others? No. It has no relationship. Parasmaipadi or Atmanepadi. It is pure, remember that as a technical aspect of the language rather than a conceptual aspect. Yes, Sneha, you have a question?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Oh, okay. I thought you raised a hand. Okay. So, but our Vedanta, we asked that question. So in Vedanta and Bhagavad Gita, the first step towards our dharma is karma yoga is the very first step. So Karma Yoga is do everything you do, whether it is Parasmayapadi verb used or Atmanepadi verb used, whatever be the action, whether it is Ubhayapadi, do it without expecting result, not as an instruction, because you do not have control over the result. It is just a desire for a specific result. Fact is, you don't have control over results. Results happen, future. Action, verb indicates action. Action takes place in the present. The result is in the future. Thinking about future is nothing but a desire, kamaha. A desire for a specific result is kamaha. So that's why Vedanta is very clear. First thing, first step in spirituality is not sitting cross-legged and do 10 hours puja or so-called meditation. First step in spirituality is think, watch yourself. Why do you do things? Why anything? I'm teaching, you are listening. Some action is going on. All of us are doing some action. Why are we doing this? Right? So first step is Parasmai, Atmane. No. Do it because it is a dharma. I feel it is my dharma to teach because there is, undefined pleasure and satisfaction when students learn Sanskritam and thereby understand Gita better. Even if one student understands Sanskritam because of this effort, understands Gita better, the purpose is served. I have performed my dharma, right? So like that, you are also performing your dharma, listening, taking the opportunity, right? So if you do your homework, you are performing your dharma. If you are not doing homework, it is adharma, right? So the student's dharma is to do homework. Okay, I'll take one more minute. In my engineering college days in Tirupati, and that's where I am right now. I'm resting here. I'll be back home in a week. So in the first floor steps, there was a big slogan. First duty of a student is to study. Then you go to the first floor. Then first floor to second floor, stairs. There again, second duty of a student is to study. Then you go to the third floor. Third duty of a student is to what? Study. we can never, we used to make fun of that, this thing, right? But it is true. Kshatrasya dharmaha pathanam avagamanam. Adhyapakasya dharmaha pathanam. Right? Okay. So bottom line, Sanskritam, which is the language of Upanishads, which is the language of Bhagavad Gita, the only language which is capable of expressing, finding the truth, expressing the truth, communicating the truth through words. The only language which has developed itself for that purpose is Sanskritam. That being the case, every verb you learn with that in your mind. All actions, whether it is Parasmayapadi verb is describing it, Atmanepadi verb is describing it, or Ubhayapadi, the intention, the wisdom which has been passed on to us by rishis. They are rishis not because like in the show movies, right? Because having a long bed, sitting on Everest or Mount Everest, doing some tapa, they don't become rishis. It is their wisdom. They have seen the truth. They are seekers of truth. Truth is Bhagavan. So those rishis have passed on to us the wisdom through the language of Sanskritam, is Bhagavad Gita and Upanishads. The wisdom is all actions. When you perform with that clarity, I'm performing action, result will happen. But at the moment, I'm performing action because it is the dharma to do. Then you know what? It actually it amplifies your ability to perform better. Contrary to general belief will be focus on result. Focus on result. You want to achieve. You want to be better than that. He gets 90%. You want to get 95%. That's what we teach our kids, right? In the name of competition. We are spoiling them. No. I will get 100. Let him also get 100. Who cares about 100 or 90? Care about work. So, the Parasmaipadi, Atmanepadi, Ubhayapadi, all verbs. Action is with that. That is the yajna. That is the dharma. Okay? Thanks, Mahodaya. I took the opportunity for your question to share all this. One small question. See, that's why you have to be careful when you ask me a question.
ಧನ್ಯವಾದ ಮಹೋದಯ.